students in the room this morning. It's really lovely to have everybody here and really looking forward to today's presentation on opportunities in the visitor economy industries. So here we are, the Industry Immersion Experience Program. So we're here today so students can learn more about careers in visitor economy. And what does visitor economy mean? Well, that can mean opportunities in hotels, which you're going to hear about today from Sally, who works at Accor Hotels. It might mean jobs in hospitality, in tourism type industry areas. So it's a very broad range, and you're going to learn a lot of information and hopefully find some connections about what your skills and strengths are and how this could be applied to a career in the visitor economy industry. So of course, first of all, I'd like to do a formal acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging leaders who are following in the footsteps of those who came before, and we thank them for the opportunity to conduct CEAV business on their lands. I'd also like to formally thank the Department of Education and Training, who has funded the Industry Immersion Experience program over the last few years, and it's provided students from a range of schools in lots of different areas across Victoria a chance to build their knowledge or your knowledge of the world of work and learn more about and think more about different careers and occupations that you might like to pursue in the future. We'd also like to thank the Department of Education and Training for allowing us to use the platform of Cisco WebEx to present this presentation today. So what are we going to learn about in this morning's session? In today's webinar, you're going to hear from a visitor economy industry professional. So that's Sally from Accor Hotels. We actually heard from Sally yesterday. She presented to career practitioners and teachers about opportunities in the industry for students, and it's a really great presentation. There's lots of really interesting things that you can take away, and you'll be able to think, oh, maybe a career in this industry is something that I could do whilst I'm still at school, or make a long-term career out of it, because we found out yesterday there's lots of opportunities for growth and longevity in the industry. We're going to hear about the different jobs that are available within the industry and learn about courses related to hotels, hospitality, visitor services that are available to students. Now, as Dave mentioned, there is the opportunity, although your mics and cameras are switched off, you can still chat and ask questions. So if you do have any questions, type them in the chat box and Sally will answer them along the way. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sally, and she's going to guide you through all there is to know about Accor Hotels and why working in this area is a great opportunity for young people. So thank you, Sally.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen and Dave, and thanks for having me again. Yesterday was fantastic, and it's great to be here again to present to our students and who I refer to as our future hospitality workers. It's great that Accor have been partnering with the CEAV for a few years now in providing these industry immersion experiences for the students. Traditionally, we will have the students come into the hotel to experience a wide variety of hotel departments and the ins and outs of how a hotel operates. So it's great that we can still be able to provide this experience just in a different, more virtual way. So really happy to be here, and thanks again for having me. I guess just a really quick background on myself. I am the Talent and Culture Manager for Accor Hotels in Melbourne. And talent and culture is basically human resources. So I do all things related to HR, along with anything from risk and compliance, reward and recognition, forming committees and organising events. But the bulk part of my role is really focused on recruitment, retention, training and developing our team members. So from posting an ad up on Seek to screening resumes and interviewing potential candidates, hiring and contracting, through to induction and training, learning and development and career progression. That's basically a lot of what I do. Thanks, Jen. So firstly, what exactly is hospitality? So hospitality is one sector of the overall travel and tourism or visitor economy, and that largely encompasses hotels. But hotels are not just a hotel room. That encompasses a wide variety of operations such as, yes, accommodation, but also residential, which is probably not something as widely known, that a lot of hotels actually have residents, and those are people or guests that are staying at the hotel anywhere from 30 days up to 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Essentially, they live there, it's their home. So that's another area of accommodation. Then, of course, there is restaurants and bars. If you've ever stayed in a hotel, chances are they would have at least one restaurant and bar and room service, though not all. There are also a handful of smaller hotels that won't have a restaurant attached to it. And then, of course, there are meetings, conferences and events, so anywhere from a small 5-person meeting to large-scale conferences that go on for an entire week to weddings and all sorts of events as well. And who is Accor? So that's our logo just there in the middle. You may or may not be familiar with it, but Accor is essentially the owning and managing company for a whole bunch of different hotel chains throughout the world. So we are the largest hotel chain in the world. And we own or operate about 39 different hotel brands, ranging from 5-star luxury resort properties through to small CBD economy or budget hotels. We have approximately 5,100 hotels, and that number is always changing. We're constantly opening or acquiring new hotels. As of tomorrow, I'm working on the pre-opening of a brand new hotel that's about to open in Ringwood, the CEAV Ringwood. So that figure is always climbing. And those hotels are scattered throughout 110 different countries around the world. And as of the 2018 financial reportings, the company made approximately $5,870 million worth of revenue. But we're far more than a worldwide leader. We are 300,000 plus hospitality experts, so that's 300,000 plus team members, placing people at the heart of what we do, nurturing real passion for service and achievement beyond limits, and we take care of millions of guests all over the world. And this is just a quick snapshot just to show you most of our hotel brands. So you see the Accor logo up the top, and that's what we refer to as the umbrella company or the parent company who own and operate and manage all these other hotel brands. So not all of these are in Australia, but you might recognise the Sofotels, the Pullmans, Swisshotel, Peppers, Mantra, Novotels, Mercures, Breakfreeze, the Ibis brands, the M Galleries, the Art Series. So those are majority of the Australian-based brands, and again, there are multiple hotels under those brands. So, for example, the Ibis, where I'm based, one of my hotels near the Queen Victoria Market in Melbourne, I can walk to the other Ibis that's just down the road in Melbourne Central, and there's another Ibis just down the road on Swanston Street. So we're everywhere, and if you haven't noticed our hotels and our logos, you probably will now when you're wandering around. So why should you consider a career in hospitality, and specifically why should you consider working for Accor, the home of great people and a great place to work? So this is our employee value proposition, and I guess it's a bit of a promise to all of our current and future employees. What makes us unique and appealing? At Accor, the difference is simply in how we feel how people feel when they are with us. We make people feel welcome and valued, feel connected and feel good. We make a difference together to our guests, our team members, and to our community. We build careers, career paths and skills for life, and we develop leaders and leaders of leaders, and thousands of amazing people who do remarkable things. We're one of the largest and fastest growing hotel companies in the world, with the widest global reach and the broadest range of brands. If you crave growth, recognition and opportunity and love helping others grow, then at Accor Hotels, there is a path. And then we say, thank you for choosing us. So hardest is something that we have at Accor internally, so it's only within Accor. It's something that was specifically designed just for Accor. So it's our philosophy, I guess, our customer service charter. But it goes way beyond just the traditional customer service goals that most businesses have. Like I said, it is specific to Accor and only rolled out to Accor employees. And it's specifically designed by experts for Accor. And it really is at the base and the heart of everything that we do. I guess to explain it, it's an induction into the company. So all new team members who are joining Accor worldwide, not just in Australia, but they are required to attend the hardest induction day on their very first day of work. So if you get a job with Accor, instead of going to your hotel and just straight into your department to start working, you come to a different hotel, meet with a whole room, about 30 or 40 other new team members who it's also their first day from all different departments, and sit down and you learn hardest. It's a really good day. We graduate and officially become Heartists, and it's all about the art of human connection. So in case you didn't already figure it out, Heartist is basically just a combination of the two words heart plus artist, being generous and coming from the heart. And because at Accor Hotels, we are experts in service. So the home of great people and a great place to work. And this is served by talent development and learning, through inclusion and diversity, through compensation and benefits, engagement and community, attraction and retention, health and well-being, reward and recognition, work-life balance and environment. And how will we know when we have it right? We will have a reputation of finding, valuing and growing the best people. Even more of the best people seek us out as a great place to work. All of our people progress and grow in their careers. We are recognised as an inclusive and diverse workplace, and there is a place for everyone and everyone feels welcome and valued. So just a bit on inclusion and diversity. So like Heartist, inclusion and diversity is at the core of everything we do at Accor Hotels, and this is just our 4 pillars of inclusion and diversity. So we have gender and orientation equality, women at Accor, generational, LGBTIQ, multicultural, including Indigenous Australians. So we have a really robust, really strong Indigenous Australian employee program, accessibility and ability, mental health, carers, flexibility, disability, and cross-generational, so gens X, Y, Z to seniors and mature workers, baby boomers. We really encompass a wide variety of diverse employees. I think that really is the key to a successful team and a successful hotel.
Sally, can I just ask, so these 4 pillars of inclusion and diversity, does that mean for students who are listening that Accor aims to employ people who fit within lots of different types of areas and accessibility levels, and is that what?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that it's taken into consideration right through from writing up a job ad through to the requirements of the actual job, through to monthly or quarterly or yearly reporting, that we report on these figures to make sure that we're actually achieving these pillars, and it's not just a thing we put on a poster, that we're actually doing what we say we will do. So yes, absolutely. And our goals, some of our goals for inclusion and diversity is to achieve 50% female general managers by 2020. Now this is probably, the goalpost on this one has moved for obvious reasons for the year of 2020. But just to give an example, I look after 3 hotels within Melbourne, and all 3 of my general managers are female GMs. So there's a really good balance of leadership in senior and high level roles throughout the business. To increase Indigenous leadership at HOD level, so HOD meaning head of department, so running a whole department and above. culturally, generationally and linguistically diverse team members at all levels, which is something we absolutely achieve already. Flexible, accessible roles and supportive work arrangements for all, particularly throughout the year of 2020, that's been a necessity to be able to have flexible working arrangements, working from home, different start and finish times, and all hotels working with their local job networks to support access to work for people of all abilities and backgrounds. And of course we have this is our community fund. So each country in the world has their own set of charities that they partner with and they work towards raising funds annually. So here in Australia, we have a variety of charities, which is the Kokoda Youth Foundation, Lifeline, the Garvan Institute, Australian Childhood Foundation, and AIM, which is an Indigenous mentoring and employment organisation. And we do that throughout the year by having numerous hotel fundraising events, from trivia nights to competitions, the national dessert promotion, which is every hotel throughout the country will have at least one dessert on their menu, where the proceeds will go to our community fund, national fundraising days, branded merchandise that we sell that goes to the fund, and Race to Survive, which is a big marathon hiking through the wilderness up in Queensland, Tough Mudder type of event for people who are bold enough to do that. I prefer just to donate. And so far, or since 2016, we have raised over $1 million for the charity, which is fantastic. And of course this is probably one of my favourite programs that's very something I'm passionate about, is Planet 21, which is all about sustainability and part of our corporate responsibility program. And this is obviously something that is in the forefront of many people's minds these days, and particularly in businesses and particularly in hotels. And it's all about reducing waste and working towards sustainability, moving towards carbon neutral buildings, zero or low food waste, engaging our guests in sustainable experiences, working hand in hand with our local communities. So last year I organised a tree planting day down in Geelong. So about 30 employees throughout all the different hotels came down for the day, and we worked together in the mud and had a sausage sizzle and ended up planting close to 4,000 native trees and shrubs in that day, which is amazing. And we just work towards every opportunity really to find out ways, or come up with ways where we can be more sustainable as a business, and we get our team really involved, and any ideas are considered and implemented as much as we can. And the perks, I guess, some of the perks of working for in hospitality and for Accor, we recognise that a happy team translates to happy guests, which is why we have so many different benefits. Just as we value our loyal customers, we recognise that loyal team members should also be rewarded. So we have things like flexible working arrangements. A lot of our team members are uni students, so it's really convenient for them to be able to get their studies done as well as work a part-time or casual job at the hours that they choose, to be able to earn some money as well as complete their studies. We have the Academy Accor, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have confidential and free counselling services and wellbeing and support platforms that our employees have access to. We have hotel accommodation and dining discounts worldwide, which is one of the more popular ones, obviously. So that goes for every Accor property in the world. Chances are you'll be able to get a discount on any accommodation booking, as well as in the restaurants and bars. And we have service recognition and awards annually. So every year of service, our team members get a free night of accommodation at a hotel of their choice, and many other tenure celebrations along the way. Those are just a few. So Academy Accor is our learning and development platform. So basically it's a system that all employees, when you start, you receive your login details and you get access to this system, and it has a very, very wide range of learning and development tools on the platform, from the basic compliance required training modules. So every new employee who starts is required to complete OH&S and safety and risk and a bunch of required training that they'll all be assigned and will have to do within their first week. Then there's self-paced learning, so you can log in and just explore the training catalogue and the training calendar and assign various training topics to yourself, whether it's customer service training, complaint handling, the basics of finance. There's a lot of self-paced learning on there. Then we have virtual classes on any given topics that might run from 1 hour to a couple of days, and it's similar to what we're doing now. We'll have a trained professional who works in the Accor Academy delivering training on any given topics for the purposes of career development. And we also have live training where we have classroom-based training, not at the moment, but when in a usual circumstance, and those are run all throughout the year, as well as leadership and development programs that can last from 6 months through to a 2-year program. There's a lot of stuff on there, so it's fantastic as well. And just a quick, I won't go into too much detail with this one, but the learning pathways, I guess, just gives you a bit of an example of where you're starting out and the required training that you'd need to do through to your career progression. So the top one there, Future Leaders, is the level that most people will start out as who are just joining the company at entry level. And in terms of onboarding, you'd be required to attend the hardest training as well as brand specific training, which is, depending on which hotel that you'd be working at, you'd need to undergo training for that brand. So if you're working for an Art Series hotel or a M Gallery hotel, which are very brand central boutique hotels, you'd need to learn about that brand and the story of that brand and everything all about that brand. If you're working for an Ibis hotel, it's a different style of training. Then for a career path, you might move on to some a guest interaction series, doing the upselling series, the Accor Future Leaders programs, etc. And then the further you move on, the higher you progress. So the emerging leaders, again, you'd complete your hardest training, and then you might do the tools for new supervisors courses, etc. So it's just a little matrix of it's the basic training that you're required to do through to some of the career pathways and the training that will be required for those pathways. And this is what we call our capability framework. So the framework is a set of detailed descriptions of the key behaviours which are valued at each level within the organisation, and they align to the strategic direction of the organisation. So just to give you a quick, it's a bit small, you probably can't read it all, but as I said before, most people start out as a future leader there in the yellow, and in order to be successful in gaining a job in hospitality at an entry-level position, you know, you'd need to be open-minded, guest-centric, obviously, have self-confidence, reasonable communication skills, be a team player, etc. If you were to progress to the next level, which is probably the supervisory level and what we call emerging leaders in the brown column, you'd need to have all of the characteristics in the yellow column, as well as then gaining or already displaying some of the ones in the brown. So positive orientation, developing teams, leading by example, guest-centric communication, and etc. And then again, the next level up is professional leaders. So that would be our heads of department. And in order to secure a role in a head of department, you'd need to have display all the yellow characteristics, all the brown ones, and now all the grey. So on, and it goes up the higher up you go.
So they're like stepping stones almost.
Yeah, they're like stepping stones, and it's I guess it's just a way of saying if you were to work your way up to visionary leader, which is the absolute head. So Simon McGrath, who was the Chief Operating Officer of Accor Asia Pacific, so 1/4 of our world, he manages. You know, he can't be that if he isn't all of the ones in the yellow or the brown or the grey or the blue or the other grey. So you need to sort of
you build on your skills and with your
Absolutely.
experiences, and that's where students will start possibly in the yellow, but then with time and experiences they can build and move up. That's great.
Absolutely, and with all the courses that are provided, that's what they're designed, is to help you get to whatever you want out of it, really. Some employees are studying at university and they're in the yellow and that's all they want to do, and that's totally fine too. And then others want to build a complete career path as far as they can go. So that's what the Academy is designed to help with.
Thank you.
So this is just a quick snapshot, I guess, of some of the typical departments within a hotel, and then the roles that you'd be looking at within those departments. So this is by no means every single role within a hotel. There's probably more, but these are some of the more common ones. And not every hotel would have every one of these positions. It would just depend on if it's a huge 500-room hotel with 3 different restaurants and bars and a big conference centre, you might have them all. If it's a small 80-room hotel with no restaurant, you'd have a much smaller team. So the front office department, we've got roles such as a porter and a concierge. So that would be our starting level. And really you're just assisting their guests into welcoming them into the hotel, basically helping them with their luggage, showing them where the front desk is, answering any inquiries, and just assisting them when they come and leave the hotel. Sometimes it includes valet parking if the hotel has valet parking. But just helping out the guests, really. Then we have our guest service agent or hotel reception, which is where you'd go and check in to the hotel when you arrive, and you get your room key and get a little information pack about the hotel. Then you'd be looking at a front office team leader who would run shifts on the desk, assistant or duty manager who looks after the front desk and leads that front office team. So they'd be in charge of the team leaders and the guest service agent and the porter, and typically on the weekends or in the evenings when there's no management around, they'd be in charge of the whole hotel, which is not as daunting as it seems because the restaurant would be closed, and but they are the managers on duty. Then there's the front office manager who would be the head of department for the front office. And again, they look after the entire scope of the front office, organise the rosters, run the teams, and obviously deal with any high-level guest issues. And then we have our reservations department, which is part of the front office team, and we have reservation agents. So these are the guys who are on the phones, taking the calls and making the hotel bookings, basically. And that goes for restaurant bookings, hotel rooms bookings, as well as any event inquiries that might come through. And then we have a reservation supervisor and reservations manager who run and look after that reservations department. Then food and beverage. So food and beverage is more than just a restaurant and bar, because it also encompasses the conferencing and events and room service. So starting as a food and beverage attendant, if you're in a restaurant or bar, obviously you would be serving the guests at their table. You might be making cocktails behind the bar. If a room service order is called in, once the chefs prepare it, you might go and take it up to the guest's room. If you're working in conferencing, it could be anywhere from servicing the guests at a wedding to just setting up a room, setting up the tables and the chairs and the display screens and whatever the requirements are. So it's more than just pouring wines at a table and polishing cutlery. It encompasses a whole variety of the food and beverage spectrum. And then, of course, food and beverage team leader. So similar to front office, they would be looking after the team. Front office supervisor would be in charge of the team in the absence of the food and beverage manager, who would be the head of department, running the whole team, looking after the rosters, dealing with high-level guest issues. And then sometimes we have a director of food and beverage for the large hotels that maybe have more than one food and beverage outlet. Next is housekeeping. So we have a room attendant, and they are basically the team members who would service the room. So if you've stayed in a hotel, you might notice that when you leave the room, you come back and it's all beautiful and your bed's made and everything's all fresh and topped up. That's what the room attendants do. Housekeeping supervisor, obviously the same as the room attendant and also in charge of the room attendants. And a housekeeping manager or executive housekeeping manager, depending on the size of the hotel. And again, that's a department head role. Then we move on to kitchen. So starting level would be a kitchen attendant, which is, I guess you'd be helping out. Majority of the role would be washing the dishes. Not all by hand. We do have big industrial dishwashers that do the hard work for you. But also you'd be helping the chefs and the cooks with maybe a little bit of basic food preparation, chopping up some vegetables and just helping the general running of the kitchen. Then you would have cooks who obviously help cook the food. And then you've got the chefs. So the chefs are the qualified and TAFE trained chefs. So starting at apprentice level, where you'd be working at cook level, doing your apprenticeship and working towards that qualification. Then you've got your commis chef, demi chef, you have chef de parties and sous chefs and all sorts of combinations, and obviously they're all different levels of experience, and there is a qualification required for that. And then you have a head chef or executive chef, depending on, again, the size of the hotel. We have our maintenance department. So, of course, in order to keep a hotel or any building running efficiently, we need a strong maintenance department to keep that happening. So maintenance assistants or handy person, so they would be doing anything from painting a wall in the lobby to installing a TV or a piece of artwork or changing light bulbs and fixing a hole in a wall. So that encompasses a wide variety. And as you can imagine, a hotel with more than 100 rooms, there's always something that needs updating or fixing or looking at. And then maintenance supervisor would be in charge of the team, and then obviously maintenance manager and chief engineer are the department heads for that. And then moving on to what we would refer to as our support roles. So the other ones I've just gone through are more of our operational departments that operationally run the actual hotel. And we have our support departments to support the hotel and obviously get the business in. So starting with sales and marketing, director of sales and marketing, you have a director of revenues and a revenue manager. So the revenue department are, I guess they're the people who set the rates for the rooms, really. So hotel rooms aren't just set at one rate, it's $100 per night and that's all it is. It very much changes every day depending on what's going on in the rest of the city or the rest of the hotel. So if it's cricket season or the Australian Open tennis, then obviously the hotels are absolutely packed out and the revenue managers take the opportunity to make the rates nice and high, so the hotel makes a lot of money. If there's been a slump like the entire year of 2020, then the rates drop quite low just to entice people to actually make bookings and come in. So it's the revenue department's main job to look at what the other hotels are doing. It's quite strategic and detailed. I probably bore you going on about it all day, but it's their interesting job is setting those hotel rates, and then they obviously pass that information on to the reservations team and the front office team who communicate those rates to people wanting to book a room at the hotel. And then we have marketing managers, sales managers, sales assistants, BDMs or business development managers. So they're all the people that go out there on the road or make calls or meet with potential clients to organise whether it's bookings for the rooms or a big event all throughout the year, and marketing assistant as well. Then we have our talent and culture or HR department. We have a director of talent and culture, which would be so my boss, so looking after the HR team for all of the different hotels within a region, a talent and culture manager like myself, talent and culture advisors and assistants who would obviously assist with everything T&C. And something I've forgotten to put on here is the finance team, of course. Always forget the core finance team, but behind every strong performing hotel is a strong performing finance team. So anyone who's interested in financials, accounting, numbers, then finance is a great job. You're not necessarily dealing with any hotel guests, or it's quite different in terms of the structure of the department of work, but we've got financial controllers, accountants, assistant accountants, finance administrators, etc. And then we have our management or executive departments, and they would be roles such as a regional general manager. So they would look after a whole state or a few states. Then you have your general managers who are in charge of a hotel, an operations manager who assists the general managers, executive assistant managers, hotel managers, and rooms division managers. So different levels. They're very similar jobs, just depending on the structure of the hotel. So that makes up the majority of the roles within hotels and departments. Hopefully I've gone through it all. So these are
Do you want me to give a brief of this one? You can have a break, Sally. So for everybody that's watching live, or maybe perhaps watches the recording later, there's a number of YouTube clips that you can watch which have interviews with real people working in real jobs at Accor. So the links are here on the screen, and Dave's popping them in the chat actually, so you can watch them later on. The functionality of streaming the videos for you right now, the quality is not that great. So we're going to pop the links in the chat, but I'm fairly certain there's a Accor YouTube page, Sally, where these videos are hosted. So if you watch the video later, this recording later, you'll be able to go to the YouTube website and type in Accor Hotels, and the videos are available.
Yes, there's a lot. There's a whole YouTube channel for all very different ones for all sorts of Accor things, sales and promotions, but there is one for careers at Accor as well. So this is where all of these little videos are at, and they're just, as Jen said, they're short 2-minute videos, and they're just little insights of actual Accor team members in their various roles and what a typical day looks like and what they like about it, and it's worth watching. And so I guess this is just a little a spotlight on a couple of roles within hotels or hospitality, just to give you an idea of what it would be like. So guest service agent, which is the hotel reception, working in the front office team. The typical shifts would be the early shift from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then the afternoon shift from 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Sometimes there is a 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, which is graveyard shift, but a GSA wouldn't typically work that shift unless maybe they're covering some leave or something. Most hotels have a dedicated night team that they will always work those shifts, a night manager and the night auditors, a little bit different from the GSAs. The pay rate, so the pay rates are set under the Hospitality Industry General Award. So they are the same across the board for every hotel for the same roles. And they are increased every July. So this is probably not incorporating the recent increases this year, but for a GSA, you'd be looking at about $21 per hour base rate, Monday through to Friday. If you were to work on a Saturday, the rate goes up to about $26 per hour and $31 per hour on a Sunday. And then, of course, the much loved $46 per hour on a public holiday. Everybody wants those shifts. Very similar for the food and beverage department. The shifts there would range from, again, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. However, if you're working the breakfast shift and the breakfast for the guests starts at 7 a.m, you might need to get there at 6 a.m. to open up the restaurant, turn the lights on, get everything all ready for the guests to come in and have their breakfast. Make sure that coffee machine is heated up, ready to go. And the pay rate is just slightly less than the GSA, so $20 per hour approximately Monday to Friday. Then it goes up to 25 Saturdays, 30 on the Sundays, and 45 on the public holidays. And then we move into our annualised salaried roles. So, for example, an assistant duty manager on the front office would work the same general shifts as a GSA, so 7 a.m. to 3 p.m, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m, maybe the graveyard shift. And their pay rate is approximately $62,000 per year base rate. A head chef, for example, in the kitchen department, the shifts are, again, very similar. The 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift and 3 to 11 is very common, the most common two shifts within a hotel. But really, if you're the head chef for the kitchen, you'd probably set your own hours. And the pay rate for a small single restaurant hotel with maybe 80 rooms, you'd be looking at starting at about $65,000 to $70,000 per year. And then, of course, that goes up depending on how big the operation is. If there's 2 restaurants or more bars or a big conferencing centre, obviously that goes up. Business development managers in the sales team, BDMs, generally they would work Monday to Friday, and the pay rate would be between $60,000 to $65,000 per year. But then most of those roles would have a commission attached to that or some sort of bonus if you achieve all your sales targets throughout the year. And then you have your general manager level, so looking after a hotel, usually a Monday to Friday type role, though you'd be on call all the time. And for a small 80-room hotel with no restaurant, you'd probably be starting at about $85,000, and then obviously that increases as the scale or the operation of your hotel. So those are just a few examples of some roles. And I've just put a little career journey spotlights just to give an example of how a career progression in the hospitality industry, what it would look like for someone who's wanting to move up. So these are 2 of my colleagues that I currently work with. Annabelle Gibney is the general manager at the Johnson Hotel in Queensland. So she started her hospitality career as a food and beverage attendant at a little local Italian restaurant and a bakery while she was in high school, and then an F&B attendant at a Mexican restaurant while she was at university. Then she commenced a graduate management traineeship with Accor, so that's one of the programs that we offer, and she was working across food and beverage, front office, reservations and concierge, getting a wide variety of experience in all of those departments. Then she started a role as the group reservations coordinator at the Pullman Melbourne, and they do a lot of sporting events, so that was a bit of a fun role for her. After that, she commenced a core executive leadership program, which is one of the 2-year programs that we run annually for probably about 5 people get accepted into the program, and that gives you a lot of leadership experience working across multiple different hotels, and usually would end with securing a management position of some sort. While she was doing that, she did a placement as a digital commerce and marketing coordinator in the Victorian head office. And then she earned her placement as the food and beverage manager, opening up a brand new restaurant at the Ibis Styles in Hobart, before she secured a role as the operations manager at My Ibis in Melbourne. And now she did that for about 18 months, and now she's the general manager at the Johnson Hotel in Queensland. And some of the studying and training that she did, not including the internal Accor programs, she completed her Bachelor of Science majoring in psychology, followed by a Master's of Science in Management. And most of her case studies and thesis were based around the hospitality industry. And funnily enough, she wasn't intending on moving into the hospitality industry. She was studying something different working in hospitality part-time, and then just really found a niche for herself there and found that it really suited her. And obviously she's built her career within hospitality now, which is fantastic. And I see that a lot. Adam Duca, he is the food and beverage manager at the Accor Hotel in Victoria. So he started his hospitality career as a runner or busboy, I think they used to call it, at DiCaprio restaurant. Then he became a waiter at the same restaurant and then a shift manager at the same restaurant, before becoming a food and beverage attendant at the Hilton Melbourne, or moving over to the Accor Hotels as a food and beverage attendant at the Pullman Melbourne. Then he moved on to become a F&B team leader at the same hotel, then a supervisor at the same hotel. Then he worked as a bar supervisor at the Cliveden Bar and Dining, before he secured his current position as the food and beverage manager at the Accor Hotel. And some of his study and training was he completed his Certificate 3 and 4 in Hospitality and Tourism, Bachelor of Business Management, and then he is currently part of the Accor Professional Leaders Program, which will probably see him through to his next role after when he's finished being an F&B manager at the Como. And I guess this is just a quick snapshot of some courses to consider whilst you're either already working in hospitality or before you decide to. So some of the short courses, there is the Responsible Service of Alcohol, or RSA. That's just a short one-day course that you do, and that one is a requirement for anyone who is working in food and beverage. So anyone who's working in the service of alcohol will be required to have an RSA certificate. I think it's usually included in Certificate 3 and 4 of Hospitality Management. It becomes part of that course, but you can also just go and do it as a course on its own just for a day, and then you just need to refresh it every 3 years. First aid and CPR, it's not a requirement, but it's always very handy to have. Then you'll be looking at your trade certificates and diplomas. So in order to secure a role as a chef, if you're interested in working in the kitchens, you would need to complete your Certificate 3 and 4 in commercial cookery. And you can do that either by studying full-time and gaining that certificate, or taking on an apprenticeship where you're actually working already in the kitchen, going to school 1 day a week and gaining that certificate while you're working. And then there's the diplomas, the Advanced Diploma and Diploma of Hospitality Management. And sometimes some of our team members in the maintenance teams will have some sort of trade, such as electrical or plumbing. It's not a requirement, but they just tend to already have them from previous studies. So it's, or they go on to get their trade while they're working in the maintenance team. And then you have your postgraduates and your bachelor degrees in business, tourism and destination management, graduate diploma, master of business, master of tourism and destination. And some of the other ones, you've got various courses and degrees in human resources management, accounting, finance, and the CPA, marketing and communications, digital marketing, and social media marketing, depending on what field of interest you have. So those are some of the courses to consider. That's it for me. So hopefully I didn't do too much talking or talk too fast, but thank you so much for your time, and it's really great to be here and present again today.
Thank you, Sally. That was so great. So much information about, particularly about all the different jobs within a hotel, because as a young person, I guess you want to know where you might fit within a workplace. So to see that there's jobs there for students who are hands-on and, you know, like working with people, or maybe someone who wants to work a little bit more behind the scenes. There's jobs in housekeeping and in the restaurants. They need tradespeople, but also students. I've written down a few notes here with an interest in maths or accounting, and you know, so it's really interesting to see the broad range of jobs. So thank you for sharing information on that. And one person did have a question for you.
Sure.
And did you have a favourite subject at school which led you towards this hospitality hotel type of industry?
Good question. I need to think back when I was in high school. It was a long time ago now, sadly. I think one of the subjects that I really enjoyed in school was, I don't even know if they call it this anymore, but it was human development and psychology class that I took in VCE as an elective. And I didn't really even know what HR was when I was studying that field, but I just really enjoyed it, just learning about emotional intelligence and psychology and working with different people. And obviously there's a reason for that, because it eventually led me to HR, and it's something that I really enjoy. But yeah, at the time it was just something that it was probably one of my more favourite topics. I'm not sure if they still have that in schools these days, do they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yes.
Yeah, that was probably my favourite and got the better marks in that one. Don't ask me about math.
And that's the thing, there's a role for everybody working within hospitality, hotels, and the visitor economy industry in general. And I think that one thing that also stood out was the way that employees are really supported throughout their employment at Accor. And I think that another thing that students might have noticed, that there's some really good programs around sustainability, and if you care about the environment and you want to work for an organisation that's doing good things for the environment, then maybe Accor is the place that you want to learn more about. So it was really good to learn about that.
Yeah, and we get a lot of this is the Planet 21 or the sustainability programs. A lot of our ideas that are implemented come from the team members, because they're the ones who are seeing things and that are done every day that say, hey, why are we using all this plastic all the time? Or instead of plastic cutlery with our takeaway, let's get those bamboo disposable ones, and we implement it straight away. So yeah, it's been great.
Fantastic. And my last question that I always ask all of our presenters about work experience and the value that you see for young people in undertaking a work experience placement. Obviously this year, many year 10s possibly have not undertaken work experience, but next year, hopefully things will bounce back and we'll be able to get back out there for placements for students. But work experience, what are your views on young people doing a placement?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's obviously very beneficial. I can still remember my work experience all those many years ago, which was in a childcare centre. And then I ended up getting a full-time job in that same centre after I graduated high school, just through the connections that I made. And obviously I really enjoyed it. I guess they liked me, and that was my first ever job. And I guess the best way to secure some work experience within hotels is probably to connect with, or your teachers can connect with someone like myself or Jen, who can liaise to organise. Often when it's work experience time, we get a lot of individual emails from students directly to the general hotel email, which is actually the reservations inbox, and the reservations people may see, they may not. So not everyone may not get a response, and it's not that we're ignoring people, it's just that if it comes through a different channel, you'd have much more success in securing a placement. And hotels is a fantastic place to do your work experience, because you're not just stuck in one corner the entire week or 2 weeks. You know, you can do a day in food and beverage, a day behind the bar, not serving alcohol, a day with the rooms, a day with HR. So you can sort of get a wide variety of roles within hotels that might help you decide, oh, I really liked when I worked in the restaurant, I didn't like when I worked in finance, or the other way around. So it's a great way to understand, to figure out what you like in terms of a job.
Yeah, great. And I think you did say one really important thing there. Don't leave it to the last minute and start looking for a work experience placement when every other student's doing the same thing. So get in early, be proactive, and that's a really great way to get your career planning underway. So Sally, thank you so much. Really appreciated your time this morning and yesterday as well. And we hope that lots of students will consider a career in the visitor economy industries within hotels, hospitality, with Accor. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. It's been fantastic. And hopefully next year we'll be able to have the industry immersion days back up and running within the hotels.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. And I just have another couple of slides to run through for students, and then we'll be finishing up. So an accompaniment to today's presentation is some online resources that the CEAV have developed, and this is available for free for any student or teacher to download. Now, these resources have information on many, many different occupations within the visitor economy industry. So there's information and video clips with interviews, just like what we were talking about, the Accor clips before. But these videos are not just within hotels. So you'll see on this page here, there's an interview with a chef there. There's also an interview with a guest services manager, someone that's working at a national park. So you can learn about lots of different jobs in the visitor economy industry. There's short little activities that accompany these videos, and you can type these directly into the PDF, save them, and then send them off to your teacher for marking, or just save them to take home and chat to someone at home about what you've learnt, and even pop them away to use later on as you progress throughout your senior years of study. It's always nice to look back on what you've learnt and what you've done over the years. There's a couple of other short activities in here. One related to work experience, because I think it's really important to be prepared and organised early for work experience. So this gives you the opportunity to think about where you might like to do a placement and to jot down a few details of different organisations that you can approach. And if you haven't used Job Outlook yet, or even if you have, I would suggest that all students take a look at this website. It has so much careers information in there that is specifically targeted to young people. So it's really easy to understand, really easy to navigate. You can learn about what duties or tasks different jobs involve. You can learn how much money you can earn, what kind of study you have to do. So then again, you're building your career's knowledge so you can make informed and considered choices as you progress through school. Now, there are actually 11 different resources. So the resource that I've just shown you is about visitor economy. But if you're thinking, oh, this isn't really what I'm interested in, there's bound to be another booklet that will have information that is more in line with what your interest area are. So we've got construction technology, creative industries, the defence forces, digital technologies, food and fibre, international education, medical tech, pharmaceuticals, professional services, retail, transport, distribution and logistics and postal, transport technology, and there's a visitor economy booklet. So as you'll see, no matter what interest area you have, there will be a booklet that suits your needs, and you'll be able to watch videos, do some activities, and just start thinking about, oh, okay, how can I find out more about this job, and do I need to go and do further study, so you can start getting ready for life after school. So we will ask everybody who's participated today to complete the survey. Deb will pop the link in the chat box. And I just wanted to say a very big thank you to Sally again for sharing with us today about all the careers at Accor and sharing a little bit about her own journey. So that was very interesting. I actually did my work experience placement at a childcare centre too, Sally.
That's fun.
So thank you very, very much. And thanks to everybody who's tuned in live, or if you're watching the recording later on, thank you. And again, you can download all of the resources or a recording of the webinar via our website, which is here on the screen. So thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.